Coco Gauff just punched her ticket to the Italian Open final, and the way she did it tells you everything about who she is becoming as a player. On Thursday in Rome, the 22-year-old American took down Romanian veteran Sorana Cirstea 6-4, 6-3 in a match that was far more complicated than the scoreline suggests. Because if you only look at the numbers, you miss the entire story. You miss the moments where it looked like this could slip away from her. You miss the chaos that interrupted the second set. And you miss the quiet, almost eerie composure that Gauff brought to every single turning point. Let's go back to the beginning, because the first few games of this match did not look like a Coco Gauff masterclass. Cirstea, who is 36 years old and has already announced she plans to retire later this year, came out playing some of the best tennis of her entire week. She was reading Gauff's serve. She was controlling the baseline rallies. She was dictating. And before long, she had pushed Gauff down to 2-4 in the first set, putting the American in a position where she had to do something or risk dropping the opener. And here is where this match became interesting. Because Gauff did not panic. She did not start playing recklessly or going for low-percentage winners out of desperation. She simply tightened up. She started picking her moments better. She started making Cirstea work harder for every single point. And then, almost without warning, the momentum shifted completely. For consecutive games, Gauff won 4 consecutive games to close out the first set 6-4. From 2-4 down to set winner. That kind of mental reset, mid-set, under pressure, that is not a small thing. Now, before we even get to the second set, let's talk about who Sorana Cirstea actually is in the context of this tournament. Because calling her just a semifinal opponent would be doing a serious disservice to what she has accomplished this week in Rome. This is the woman who walked onto the court in the third round of this tournament and defeated Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1, outright. Not in a fluke. Not because Sabalenka was injured or distracted. Cirstea beat her. She delivered what many are calling the biggest upset of the entire Italian Open. And she carried that confidence all the way into her match against Gauff. So when Gauff came back from 2-4 down to win the first set, she wasn't doing it against a worn-down opponent who had nothing left. She was doing it against a player who had already beaten the best player in the world this same week. That context matters. The second set started, and Gauff looked completely dialed in. She broke Cirstea's serve early and began building what looked like a comfortable lead. But Cirstea refused to go quietly. Every time Gauff broke, Cirstea broke back. The Romanian veteran kept clawing her way back into the set, refusing to let the match become a routine closing exercise. There was real tension in Rome. And then, right in the middle of all of it, the match stopped. A spectator in the crowd required medical attention. Play was halted. The crowd went quiet. The players stood on opposite ends of the court, waiting, not knowing how long this would take or what kind of mental reset would follow. In those moments, momentum is fragile. Whatever rhythm a player has built, whatever mental zone they have settled into, all of it is vulnerable when the match just suddenly stops. Gauff barely blinked. When play resumed, she came back with the same pace, the same focus, the same intensity she had brought before the interruption. She didn't need time to warm back up. She didn't look rattled or distracted. She went right back to work. And in the 8th game of the second set, she earned the decisive break, the one that truly put the match out of reach, and then held her own serve to close it out. 1 hour and a few minutes. Match over. Here is what makes this victory particularly meaningful when you step back and look at the bigger picture. Gauff did not have an easy road to this semifinal. Not even close. In the rounds leading up to Thursday's match, she had played 3 consecutive 3-set matches. 3 of them back-to-back-to-back. That is physically exhausting and mentally draining in a way that is hard to overstate. One of those matches included a narrow, grinding win over her American compatriot Iva Jovic, which went down to the wire. So when Gauff arrived to face Cirstea in the semifinal, she was not a player who had been coasting through the draw. She was a player who had been tested, challenged, and pushed to her absolute limit, and had found a way through every single time. And then, after all of that, she goes out and produces a controlled, efficient straight sets performance in the semifinal. That is mental fortitude. That is what separates the good players from the great ones. This is also Gauff's second WTA 1000 final of the year. Her first came in Miami, where she reached the final before losing to Aryna Sabalenka. That result stung, but she's back. She has found her way to another major final, and this time, she has the experience of that Miami run behind her. She knows what it takes to get here, and she's learning something from every match along the way. During her on-court interview after the win, Gauff spoke with a kind of quiet confidence that has become her trademark. She said she learned something from each of those difficult three-set matches earlier in the week. She acknowledged that grinding through tough matches is part of the journey, and she expressed genuine gratitude for being back in a final. That's not kin sportsmanship. That's a player who understands exactly where she is in her development, who is processing her own career in real time, and who is using every difficult moment as material. Now the wait begins. Gauff's opponent in Saturday's final will be the winner of the other semi-final between Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka, which was scheduled to be played later on Thursday. Swiatek on clay in Rome needs no introduction. She has dominated this surface for years, and the Foro Italico crowd has seen her at her very best many times. Svitolina, meanwhile, has shown throughout her career that she can rise to any occasion on any surface. Either way, Gauff will not be walking into an easy final. But then again, nothing about this entire week has been easy for her, and she has handled every moment of it. One more thing worth remembering as we look ahead to Saturday. Last year, Gauff stood in this same final in Rome. She lost to Jasmine Paolini in front of a home crowd that was entirely behind the Italian. She knows what this court feels like in a final. She has already experienced the heartbreak of falling short here. And now she's back, 1 year later, 1 year better, with more matches under her belt, more experience in her bones, and a draw that has tested her in every possible way. Whatever happens on Saturday, Coco Gauff has already proved something significant in Rome this week. She is not just a player who belongs on these big stages. She is a player who is learning how to own them.